I died just the other night. When I waked up, it was really quiet. As a matter of fact, it was so quiet that the only feeling I felt was a little bewildered. And I started wondering, if I'm dead, then where's everybody to greet me? I couldn't remember who I was. And in the process of this bewildered, wondering swirl, a voice came to me and said, "Don't worry. You're not going to be here that long. This is just to give you a refresher on what you're forgetting." And then it started coming to me, and I started feeling, wow. The images of who I used to believe myself to be started coming back. And it was like I could feel this mask starting to build up and to form, and I could feel myself bonding with it. And then it came to me, hey, you wear a mask long enough, and you begin to forget who you are beneath it. I said, yes, that's right, that's right. And then I started thinking of all the different me's that I had lived, all the different masks that I had worn. And then it dawned on me, a lot of them were just kind of there, and I just spoke through them, acted through them. And there really was no major attachment, just something to express through. But then others, and many others, oh my goodness, was there ever a solid connection there? That when I looked at it again, from where I was, the only solidness that really existed was my attachment to them. My attachment to who I believed I was. And then those that I really, really got anchored into so much that I believed I was who I was pretending to be. And I got caught up in all kinds of judgments with it. And at times, I saw flashes of who I acted out with and felt subject to or felt a victim and would blame others for situations that I was experiencing. I lived so much conflict. I lived so much drama. And these were segments of my life that were showing themselves so clearly to me. How I used to rail against it, how much I used to complain. And at times how I got so caught up in focusing on what had already happened, or projecting myself and focusing on what could happen, what should happen, what ought to happen. I found myself in situations where I felt superior to others, or because of what they were generating, I felt inferior. And I saw these masks just shift on and off, back and forth. I noticed how it was that I then felt the need at times to distinguish myself as being either a very complex being or so intellectual. And I noticed how at other times I'd get so stressed out and concerned about my future. And at other times I just felt so alone in the world. And then I saw that I made some shifts in myself, and I said, okay, I'm going to get focused and I'm going to do things. And then I got focused on serving and doing work and accomplishing. But that too became like a mask that I became very, very attached to. And if anything came up that would threaten that, how insecure it caused me to feel. At times I felt small and just never, ever good enough. And in the course of all of this, the clock ticked on. And in it I tried out things of giving my authority over to others and then trying to get it back from them. And I did things for the approval of others. And these masks, they all had the energies of what I was living. And I found that at times I needed constant validation, and I needed that attention. And at other times it came to me so clearly that the mask I was wearing was one that I felt uncomfortable being alone. So I would seek out all different kinds of distractions so that I didn't have to face myself. And in the course of all of it, I saw that I took myself way too seriously. And you see, sometimes that's why it's really valid and important to have someone meet you when you die. Because all the things and all the ones that you've been living vanish because you no longer have the ego there to serve you. The one that gives you that sense of self so that you can live this lifetime. So there's got to be someone there to say, hey, look, none of that was you. None of that was you. All of that was a projection. And it's okay, because that's what you're here to do. You're here to learn through who you believe you are. But when you become so attached to it, then you get lost. You disappear beneath the mask. And you see, that's the opportunity that we have here, if we only see it and recognize it, is to daily die the small death to who we believe we are, so that we can bring forth our true self. So that instead of feeling judgmental, we really are accepting. We're accepting of ourselves and we're accepting of others. Instead of feeling as if you're a victim and blaming others for your circumstances, you take responsibility for creating your own experience. Instead of conflict and drama driving you, you learn to be forgiving, realizing that forgiving really does offer you freedom. Instead of complaining, you learn to be grateful, realizing the wondrousness of this opportunity. And instead of being focused on the past or the future, you learn to be here now. You learn to be present focused. Or going from the extreme of feeling superior to the extreme of feeling inferior. There comes that realization that's in you, it's in all of us, that we're all equal. We're all here doing the same thing, and that's learning who we are. And instead of feeling that I have to be so complex or I have to be so intellectual, you realize that, hey, Simple wisdom does it better than any of the others. Instead of being so stressed and worried about the future, you relax. You trust the source, realizing, hey, all is well. It's cool. Take it easy. And instead of feeling all alone in the world, you begin to sense the connections to everything everywhere all the time. It dawns on you there really is no separation. Instead of feeling the need to prove your worth through work or service, you let yourself feel loved and accepted for just being you. That one grain of sand, that's who you are. The beach is filled with them, and as far as life is concerned, that's good enough. But you know, that small grain of sand, sometimes you miss it and you feel small and never good enough. And that's when you can open yourself up to the innocence and the greatness of your own soul. Because after all, we are the individuated aspect of Source itself. And instead of giving our authority over to others, we can trust our own intuition, our own internal guidance system. And time, it too is part of the illusion. And instead of being ruled by it, we begin to feel the flow of life and know that we can trust it because it always is, always has been, and always will be for us. And instead of doing things for the approval of others, we learn to please our higher self in making the choices for why we do what we do. The need for constant attention and validation from others. Sometimes it is that we have to reach that place of feeling secure in ourselves. And then when we are, we're able to listen to others without getting distracted by our own egoic insecurities. The uncomfortableness of being alone and less distracted. You start taking time to develop that inner relationship with yourself. And in so doing, you're able to pick through the morass and find the gems that are hidden in you, that are of you. And you're able to feel comfortable with being you. And the last part, of course, not taking yourself too seriously, that's easily accomplished. Look at how laughable you are. Embrace your own foibles, your ego's attempt to be there all the time with everything, everywhere, and see how laughable it is, so that it can learn to relax. And you find that, truly, the mask starts slipping away. Instead of feeling, oh my God, I forgot who I am, you're able to live the rest of this lifetime with the attending, developing relationship with yourself to yourself that reveals your true nature starting to shine through. And what you came here to learn this lifetime, you feel, well, by golly gee, I'm getting it together, and it's okay, even if I do screw up. It's all right. Me being me. And then I waked up. And I said, thank you. That's the sweetest death I've ever had. And thank you. For more information about the Metaphysical Church of Enlightenment or the Rodin Foundation, please go to our website at www.rodin.org. If you have been inspired by the revelations shared in these podcasts, please donate to the Rodin Foundation's ongoing efforts to help others help themselves at www.rodin.org/donate.